Everyone, this is Mrs. Knowlton, and today we're going to be talking about the power of a power property that we learned about at the beginning of this semester. So if you remember, when we have this power raised to the power, how we do this is all we do is just multiply those exponents together. So let's say, for example, to see why this is the case, we had x cubed raised to the second power. Looking at this is really saying my base here, x cubed, is being multiplied by itself twice. And then from the product property, that tells us when we have this, the same base, all I do is just add the exponents. So 3 plus 3, I get 6. But this power raised to the power property tells us that instead of going through those steps, I can automatically just skip 2. That's going to be 3 times 2 to get me 6. So another example of that, let's say I have x to the 5th raised to the 3rd power. All I would need to do is just have x to the 5 times 3, which is 15. Okay, now let's say I have a little bit more going on in these parentheses. So let's say I have 3x to the 4th power. When I'm doing this type of problem, I need to make sure that I distribute this exponent 4 to my 3 and to my x and multiply those exponents. However, if you notice here, my 3 and my x don't have an exponent with it. Whenever that's the case, you can kind of think of an imaginary 1 being there. So for this one, I'll be really doing 1 times 4 to get 3 to the 4th, and then x to the 4th. And then my last step here, I don't like having a number raised to the power. I want to simplify that. So if I put this in my calculator, 3 to the 4th power will get me 81 x to the 4th. Be careful here, we're not doing 3 times 4. We're really multiplying 3 by itself 4 times. Okay, now let's look at one where we have 5x to the 4th, but now it's being raised to a negative power. So this one, negative 3 power. I'm still going to do that same first step. I'm going to distribute my exponent. That 5 doesn't have an exponent with it, so it's really a 1, so I have 5 to the negative 3rd power. And then 4 times negative 3, I get negative 12. And then now I see here I have 2 negative powers. And so if you remember, to make my negative exponent positive, I have to cross the line and change the sign. So both of these need to move to the denominator. And since I moved all of it, there isn't just nothing up here, there's really just a 1. And then my last step, I don't like having a number raised to a power. So when I put that in my calculator, I get that 5 cubed is 125, then x to the 12th. Okay, now let's look at an example where I have a negative number inside my parentheses. So let's say I have negative 3x to the 7th raised to the 3rd power. So I'm going to distribute my exponent, my 3, with the negative 3 and x to the 7th. But here I have to be careful. Since I have a negative 3, that negative is included in my base. So I need to put my negative 3 in parentheses and raise that to the 3rd power. And then x to the 7 times 3, I get 21. And then now when I put this in my calculator, making sure I put parentheses around it, I get negative 27 x to the 21st. And I'm actually done here. I know it's really tempting to put that 27 in the denominator because it's negative. However, it's okay if the number out in front is negative. The only thing that we care about is to make sure that my exponent's not negative.